Today, we are chatting about why playing the career game gets such a bad reputation. I'm Kendall, that career coach, and I help individuals progress their career and get promoted without being miserable and getting paid what they're worth. Today, we're talking about a recent scandal in light of why playing the career game gets such a bad reputation, and that is the Coldplay couple. You've all seen it, everybody's talked about it. I'm going to preface this whole conversation by saying that I feel so terrible for their families and spouses who have been affected by this. But I also think it's really important for us to talk about the root cause of what is happening. The individual who is seen with the CEO is their chief people officer, who was recently promoted into that role only 7 months ago. And the individual standing next to them is a director of HR who was recently promoted by the same CPO 4 months ago. So, in this situation where the CEO and the CPO are having an affair, there is also a lot of reward when it comes to terms of their careers. As a result of this relationship, or maybe not, but it doesn't matter, public perception is going to be what it is. This individual was promoted into a chief role and an individual under them promoted to a director role. Now, maybe these two individuals got those promotions completely based on their own merit. Maybe they worked really hard. Maybe they worked long hours. Maybe they were able to articulate their impact effectively. But suddenly, none of that matters because the scope in which they are being perceived by the public and by their coworkers is now wrapped up in the context of this scandal. And playing the career game gets this bad reputation of being sleazy and inauthentic because of situations like this, where there is one individual who takes self-advocacy too far, ends up making decisions that may or may not be best for the company, may or may not be best for themselves, may or may not be best for their teams. And this is what this reputation comes to. And so this is why so many people who come to me and say, hey, I need to be able to navigate corporate politics. I want to move up. I want to get promoted, but I don't want to become the car salesman talking about how great I am all the time. I don't want to stoop to the level of my coworker who is stabbing people in the back to get promoted. I don't want to become an inauthentic, fake version of myself just to get promoted or get ahead. And I 1000% agree. A lot of what I teach on this channel and a lot of what I talk about in my book is that you need to understand how the career game works. You need to understand the rules that are being played by. You need to understand how to communicate effectively, how to network, how to advocate for yourself, how to understand what your secret sauce or your unique brand is. And if you can't do those things, you're going to get passed over by people who do. Now, the unfortunate part of the career game is you also sometimes get passed over by people who take shortcuts. Right. And those shortcuts can be a myriad of things. This can be rubbing elbows at the happy hour and they get in the good graces of an executive who's willing to promote them quickly. This could be a situation like what we saw play out at the Coldplay concert. This could be a situation where an individual is getting the people around them fired and as a result is able to climb the ladder more quickly. And I never advocate for those types of actions. I never advocate for that type of career progression. But understanding how things are playing out behind closed doors, the way that your executives are thinking about your promotions, the way that you're being perceived by your peers and your leadership is critical to your long-term success. Right now, I don't want to be just another voice on the internet talking about the mistakes that these individuals made. They're very public. I'm sure that in the light of day, they're realizing their mistakes in a really obvious way right about now. But what I am going to share with you is that instead of focusing on the mistake that they made publicly, focus on the rules of the game that they chose to play by and decide whether or not that ethically and morally aligns with your own values. And when you choose to engage in the corporate world, to engage in your career, to navigate career progression, you need to be assessing both what are the rules of the game, what are the things that are happening, what are the rules I need to engage by, and assessing what is it that's going to align with my moral and ethical values in order for me to feel like this growth and this progression is something that I'm comfortable with and happy with. And where those two things intersect is where you're going to find hockey stick growth in your career. It's not in doing the sketchy bad things. It's in finding where you can play by the rules. You can be a little more assertive for what you want, and you'll be able to grow and progress in alignment with what those long-term goals are for you.